I ask you this as a fellow dog owner. How has the last 48 hours treated you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, he does pretty good. He usually just thinks it's somebody knocking on the door, so he goes,
right,
kind of batshit crazy, barking at the door to alert us that somebody's there, but of course no one's there.
Right.
So. But yeah, he's not scared like Foxy, our old dog, was scared. She would just curl up in a ball and shiver.
Yeah.
So he handles it pretty well.
Nice. That's good. So Jezzy, our little one, she's deaf, so she just doesn't know what's happening. So she's just oblivious. Annie doesn't particularly care, which is funny because she's skittish around people, but loud noises don't bother her. But Banner is just a 105-pound anxiety attack.
Oh, fantastic.
Who's just normally any given Sunday, he just wants to run outside and just be outside and bark at squirrels and stuff. Got home yesterday, dude wouldn't go outside. Straight up would not walk out the door. I had to push him out the door because I didn't want him peeing in my house.
I hate being that guy, but
yeah,
there's a reason that fireworks are outlawed inside the city limits,
yeah.
And one of them is how it affects pets.
Yeah.
The other is, potential fires and so forth.
Right.
Just use your fireworks responsibly, people.
That's where I'm just go watch the fireworks. But again, like you said, I don't want to be that guy. But it's just and so I'm not yelling at, I'm not going to be the guy who goes out and yells at my neighbors or anything. But I'm just my dog is it's funny because he apparently does the tornado warning thing where he runs in the guest bathroom where there are no windows and he hides. So if I can't find him, I just go in the spare bathroom and look for my dog. Man. And yeah, he's not having it. He is so
if
ready.
Only he could turn into the Hulk when he was scared.
I know, right? Just big green and bark and run down the street and smash people who are shooting off fireworks.
Yes.
But
I get it. As a kid, we would get them illegally from Mexico because I lived in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we'd get them, and we would throw off, dynamite sticks and anything else. I get it. I really do.
Well, I lived out in the country, so I grew up in rural Arkansas. So it's number one, my dad was I use the word frugal now that I'm older because at the time I thought he was cheap, but now that I'm an old man, I'm just no, I'm not setting my money on fire either. So I'm going to use the word frugal, but yeah, we bought all the fireworks. We lived out in the country, right?
Yeah.
So
even traveling to go see fireworks was an event.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. You had to take a 45-minute trip to go see anything.
Right. So it probably was cheaper in your guys' case to buy a handful of fireworks.
Oh, for sure.
Them off, yeah.
But our closest neighbor was 3 miles down the road. So
the thing I was hearing about this year with fireworks is that because of the pandemic. China, because whether you know this or not, most American fireworks come from China. I don't think there's any firework manufacturers in America.
I don't know,
but their factories were shut down for a good portion of the year, so prices are way up on an already expensive item, anyways.
Oh yeah, wow.
And the quantity was down 30%. So,
well, my neighbors,
at least according to NPR radio.
My neighbors must have invested in Dogecoin or something and hit big because they were they were blowing some cash. They didn't care. But of course we're talking about fireworks because we are here together on this glorious Sunday morning recording episode 184, and I checked it this time so I know I'm right, of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast.
I would have never know if you were wrong.
I try to govern myself. And this is also the 4th of July that we're recording on. We're doing it early, so no fireworks. There's a parade later. We're gonna go. Craig is gonna march in it. I heard that's the rumor. He's putting on his American flag Speedo and being the.
That is probably not going to happen.
Damn it.
Yeah, we don't want people passing out from fear.
Look, I hang out in different circles, so
okay, well, maybe.
But also, this is also a subsequent holiday, and not many people know this, and he'll probably get mad at me for saying this, but it is our good friend Billy Z's birthday.
Yeah,
from over at the Comic Book Bear.
Happy birthday, Billy!
We want to wish him,
Billy Z,
a happy birthday because he is. Yeah, I love the guy.
Yeah, me too. He's a good man.
He is. He's a good dude, and has really been very sweet to both of us, I think.
And has a fantastic taste in comic books and music.
He does. Oh, dude, his music taste.
Yeah, well, he's got a very in-depth knowledge of music. I'm surprised he doesn't do a music podcast as well, to be honest with you.
I don't know that we've ever talked about that, but I could very easily see him doing that.
Yeah, he's got a knowledge beyond the average person's knowledge of music.
A knowledge in a collection. Like if you ever like see pictures of where he lives, or like if you're ever watching the CBB like live stream, like he sits in front of just a wall of CDs, and he still buys
and
CDs.
DVDs.
Yeah, and that's just what he's got at his house. The man's got a bunker.
Yeah, he calls it the bunker.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a storage or what it is, but he calls it the bunker.
Every once in a while, I get a picture from inside the bunker, but it's very much like you can't tell where it is.
Same. It's usually a Star Wars related item.
It cracks me up. But
happy birthday out there, buddy.
Yeah, man. Hope it's as wonderful as you are. I guess so. I said it's episode 184, and if this is your first episode, my name is Caleb Alexander McKenzie,
and I'm Craig Lance,
and we are one partner short on this day's show. We have no Matt, Mr. Matt Trogdon.
We're very sad.
We are. Yeah. We're verklempt. It's going to be hard to get through this episode, but
carry on.
I know as we place our hands over our hearts and just get a silent tear. No, our brother's taking a well-deserved day off. I think he's doing some. Who knows what he's doing? He's just out gallivanting,
having fun, enjoying the what do you want to call it? Vaccinated pandemic world that the vaccinated can do now. Doing
it up right. This has got to be something akin to what parents feel like, though, because I need my boy to check in with us every once in a while. Just, if you're going to be late, call your mother.
Yeah, every now and then we get a little funny meme from him. He did text us and tell us he was terribly sad he wasn't going to be on the show and that he didn't have any new comic books to read this week.
Oh yeah, no, he's traveling, so that's what he that's what he deserves, though. If you miss the show, you don't get to read that week. That's the punishment.
That's fair.
But no, he's off doing his thing, and we're glad he is. We definitely are going to miss him, especially considering some of the subject matter that we're going to talk about for today's roundtable. I think that would be right up his alley. I hope he, after he listens to this, or maybe before he listens to it, he goes and reads the book and gets back with us. I think we enticed him a little bit this morning.
Yeah,
with some of the stuff. So, but speaking of reading comic books, that is our hobby. That's what we like to do.
Is it?
From time to time.
Yeah.
We try to read a handful of them every week.
I try to read a few every week.
Mm-hmm. So did you get any read this week?
I did. So I read Daredevil number 31, which continues to be one of the best books on the shelf. Whether Marvel, DC, Independent, any of it, it's just one of the best stories ongoing. Of course, it's still Chip Zdarsky writing it. Mike Hawthorne did the pencils on this one. And Adrian Di Benedetto did the inking, and Marcio Menez on colors. Anyways, this is starting a new arc. In the last issue, we found out that the warden of the prison that Daredevil is actually trying to have him killed while he's in the prison.
No shit.
Matt's taking no prisoners, so to speak, in the jail now. And Elektra's lost her mind as Daredevil out in the real world, which we all knew that was bound to happen at some point. So
she showed up. I forget which book it was, but she showed up in one of the books I was reading this week because I'm still not reading Daredevil. I know, shame on me. They're going to put out an omnibus at some point, and I'll buy it. But she showed up as the character in one of the books I was reading this week. It was interesting.
It's really fun having her as Daredevil. Sometimes it doesn't fit, but because of the way they're doing this story, it's really working. And she tried to take on a little kid to mentor her. And you can imagine how poorly that went.
That's not the Big Sister program you want to put your kid in.
Yeah. So
I dig that new costume, though.
It's really great. I saw somebody cosplaying it, a picture of somebody cosplaying it. It was really great, too. So it's always nice when you kind of get that crossover, and now, girls can play a legit version of cosplay a legit version of Daredevil. But like I said, she's about to lose her mind. Wilson Fisk is losing his mind. Mm-hmm. And Bullseye is just randomly sniper shooting people from windows in Manhattan.
It's bad when Bullseye's the dependable constant who's not. He's just being Bullseye.
Well, he's got a angel on his shoulder, so to speak, telling him to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the best assassin there is. And the angel's like, well, if you are, then why aren't you just killing everybody?
Prove it.
Yeah. And so he's sniper shooting everybody. And so the other one of the other books I read was Doc Aphra, number 11. And it's Alyssa Wong, Minke Young, Victor Olazabo, and Rochelle Rosenberg. So I collect this book. I haven't read it in a while because I kind of the character is just really not my thing. She's a great character. She represents a lot of different people. I just kind of got bored with the character.
Right.
And maybe it was the writing, but when she first came out, I really loved it. But I'm collecting the book. Well, I read this issue because it has Dirge in it. And for those of you that may remember, Dirge was the kind of main bad guy in the little Clone Wars shorts that they did. That when you killed him, he could morph into it. Anyways, he's pretty much a badass bounty hunter. And he worked with the droids in the Clone Wars cartoon, the original Clone Wars cartoon that are no longer canon. But to see him come into canon was really a lot of fun.
Nice. For those of you who, just because you can't see, when Craig said, for those of you who may remember, he was looking at me, and behind his glasses, his eyes were saying, "You don't know who the fuck this is, do you, Caleb?"
And you did not. The glassed over look in your eye.
It wasn't glassed over. I was just lost and alone without that knowledge. But I appreciate you letting me know.
So the last book I read is, you guys might remember, maybe 2-3 months ago, we had John Westhoff on the show.
Yep.
And he talked about his book that was on Kickstarter, getting ready to start at the time. And that was Child Possession Services. And of course, it's John Westhoff and Timothy O'Brien and Bobgar Ornelas. And I'm not going to go too deep into this book, because you can go back and listen to our episode when John was on the show and find out what it's all about. But I will tell you, the story is absolutely fantastic. Yes, it has some, it's dealing with possession, so it's got this, kind of vibe. But really, at its heart, it's a story about an overworked social worker.
Right.
That is trying to deal with the life of being a social worker and how it kind of tends to break people.
So I got that in this week as well. And the Kickstarter package I got came with a little sketch, and Bob Gar hooked me up with a Hulk sketch. And
I got Spider-Man.
Nice. It was all, I'll have to post those later.
Yeah. And it said Southern Fried Spider-Man, I think, or Southern Fried awesome. Spidey on it or something like that. Yeah.
But no, dude, I love that team. And I actually think that they've got another Kickstarter either happening now or about to happen. So we'll have to promote that. And also our friend Nick has got a new comic that he's kickstarting, and we'll have more information.
We'll try and get him on the show so we can talk about it.
We won't try. We will do.
Yeah, Nick, be ready. We'll be calling on you shortly to come talk about your new book.
And just, in a SFG tether, I think our boy Sean did a variant cover for it. So that's kind of awesome for him.
Yep. He said he struggled quite a bit with it, but he eventually got through it. And it was more of just wanting to do a really good job more than anything else. But it's great to support these guys as they move on and they expand and become better than us. And
I don't know about all that. No, just
no.
I can't draw stick figures. So.
I can't draw anything, so I'm proud of Sean for what he's been doing.
Oh, for sure, dude. I think it's
better
great.
And better by the day. So, that just good stuff all around. Yeah. And if you want to get that Child Possession Services book, hit us up. We can definitely get you hooked up. John's in the Southern Fried Geekery Facebook page, so just make a comment, and I'm sure he'll hook you up.
Yeah, he's we can connect those dots for you for sure.
Yep,
that's a good short stack, Craig.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna drop mine.
All right, drop yours.
So issue 4, the first one on my stack is issue 4 of the series Giga from Vault Comic. Now, I'm pretty sure I've talked about all the issues before this, because I am loving this series. It's written by Alex Packnadell. John Lay is the artist. Roche is the color artist, and Aditya Bidikar does the letters. And it's got a guy named Danny Lohr who is the sensitivity reader, because the book deals with a person who is he's an amputee from the knees down.
Okay.
So he spends a lot of time in a wheelchair, and so they're making sure that everything is they're not being offensive in any kind of way. And I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. But the story in a nutshell is in this world, there were giant robots that deactivated themselves after a big giant robot war, and the people kept living, and they started worshiping the robots as gods. Except, like any good religion, there are people who don't follow it, and there are other terrorist sects that pop up, and there are heretics. I love a good heretic story. And that's essentially where we're at now in this story. It brings some old characters from the past back in, and it really ropes into the religious politics from inside this because it's a theocratic society, right? Mm-hmm. So now like the Pope or the like robot priest or whatever, like you're starting to see some of the machinations and some of the bad things that they've done. Incredible series. I will say the thing about this, I love John Lay's art, and I loved it from the very beginning. But you know how in a series, like especially if it's a younger artist or an artist you're not familiar with or something, you see them like level up as the series go on. I think John Lay is doing that in here. Like I adored the art in issue 1, but his art, his lines have gotten so much more crisp, so much more clean.
For referencing artists that level up through a series, go read Luther Strode.
Oh yeah, Tradmore. Oh, that's like the Quinn. Like it's big facts.
And he was good to start.
Yeah. But now, like he's just insane. But yeah. So watching John Lay just do his thing in this book has been a lot of fun. I need to fuck around and buy a page from that book. Another book that I have just loved. In a weird way.
I'm going to have to get, I see it on your stack. I'm going to have to get this one in omnibus. Yeah. Everybody is talking about this book and how I missed out on it. I don't know, but
look, I'm an I don't know if alkalite's the right word, but I love me some Tony Fleece. That is who writes the book, and the book is Stray Dogs, number 5. Trish Forstner does the art on it. Brad Simpson's the color artist. And so an incredible team. If you've seen All Dogs Go to Heaven, then you know what the art looks like. It's very much in that cartoony vein, but the book is dark.
Yeah.
It's about a serial killer who takes the animals of his victims, the dogs of them, and raises them as kind of trophies. And the dogs are trying to escape because as time goes on, because that's not the only trophies he keeps. He keeps these other little bits of memorabilia, and one of the dogs smells it and it's like, it brings back like a flood of memories, and the dogs just slowly realize what's happened and how they're actually prisoners in this horrible environment. There's a lot of metaphor there, I think, that is being played with.
There is. But I've heard nothing but great things about that series.
It's so good, but it will rip your heart out. It's like, I can't. Yeah, if you haven't read Stray Dogs, it just ended. Issue 5 is on the shelves now. Go get all of them. They are absolutely coming out with a trade. It'll be out soon. That's what Mr. Fleece had said when I nice. Tweeted at him. So I cannot wait.
One of the few good things about Twitter is you can actually at the creators of this stuff, and sometimes you get responses.
Yeah,
just don't be dicks to the creators. If you don't like their stuff, just ignore it.
Oh, and don't go at them to let them know that nobody gives a shit.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to at them that hey, I hated your stuff, but you certainly can at them. Yeah, I love your stuff because the world's full of negativity.
Yeah, and I love the thing. It's like, oh, I've never really interacted with that person and I'm blocked. Well, that's because they saw the bullshit you did with somebody else. They don't want to put up with you. So It's real easy to see an asshole online and just block them. I do it all the time. People I've never spoken to. And you know what?
I do it all the time too. It's like when you make it, there's people out there that make it easy to block.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they really. I'm just.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have to ever interact with you because I saw this one comment you made.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that just let me know. But I mean, like equating it to real life. Don't knock on my door and talk shit to me.
Yeah.
Like that's going to get your ass kicked. And if you do the thing on Twitter, it's just going to make me never want to speak to you ever again.
Yep. Then you'll go to the Comic-Con and see him in person. You'll be all, oh, I love your work. Will you sign this book?
Yeah. Just because you can. And then they'll brag about it later. It's fucking assholes.
Right. So don't be that guy.
No, just don't be that person.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And then last but not least on my little shorty stack here is an anthology that came out. I want to say it came out 3 weeks ago. It's Wonder Woman Black. It's very much in the same vein as Superman Red and Blue. Wonder Woman Black and Gold, I should say. I really enjoyed Superman Red and Blue, so I wanted to pick this up. Wonder Woman being my, she's my girl. It's my favorite person in DC, or my favorite character of DC, I should say.
I'm waiting to hear your opinion on it because I almost got it and set it back down.
I really liked it. So I don't know that I liked it as much as I liked Superman Red and Blue, but what Superman Red and Blue did differently is they started off with some A-listers, where what this book did is it took a little bit of a different approach. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of the creators in this book. I think they're new, but the next issue has got people like Mariko Tamaki and Jamie McKelvey, Tilly Walden, Stephanie Williams.
I know I flipped through it and it had some absolutely beautiful art.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. So even though these aren't A-listers, I love the art in this. It's very, it comes from an indie place, and it's a little bit not a. I like it when we get Big Two books that aren't done in Big Two house style.
Right.
And that's not to say I don't like house style.
I get what you're saying.
But it's just a little bit of a fresher nod.
Yeah, sometimes when you get somebody else drawing it that's like, yeah, I'm going to kind of do it my way, which will lead into my book later.
Right. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have short stories in this. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 different short stories in this, written by people like A.J. Mendez, Nadia Samas, John Arcudi, who I am familiar with, Amy Reeder, and then of course Becky Cloonan, who we were also familiar with. Art by people. Ming Doyle does the art in this. Morgan Beam, who is, if I recall, Morgan Beam did some work with Justin Jordan, and that's how I know Morgan.
The name sounds familiar, but
Amy Reeder. Gabriella Down did some work in this as far as some lettering stuff. Pat Brosaw did some lettering work. Really, really fun little short stories, and you get Wonder Woman from different eras. So there's Golden Age Wonder Woman in this. There is Wonder Woman as she exists now. But there's really one quirky, funny story where essentially like Wonder Woman gets coaxed back to Paradise Island by her mom because her mom is quote unquote sick. Except her mom's not really sick. Her mom just like wanted her daughter to come over.
Oh, moms.
Yeah, it was. And then Diana catches a cold while she's there, so she has to stay later. And it was a really fun, cute little quirky story. But across the board, I'm on it. I can't wait to see what they continue to do. I love these little anthologies.
As a child, my mom always reminded me of Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
In looks, and then as she got older, she reminded me of Barbra Streisand and all the roles she plays as a mother, where she's very uses the guilt trip.
Right.
I mean, Barbra Streisand even did a movie called Guilt Trip.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And very much that reminder.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And knowing your mom, that's hilarious. That's I can't unsee that now.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm glad we read some good stuff all around.
We did.
Go check those out. And
it was one of those weeks where I didn't read a whole lot, but everything I picked up was fun and entertaining, which is always a nice,
And it's funny is like I haven't read, but I think one of the books you talked about, so I need to go jump on those. That's why I like doing the short stacks, little brief epithets of awesome.
Well, it gives people a chance to hear what we're enjoying.
Facts.
So, without us doing a deep dive into it.
Gives me a chance to hear what you're enjoying.
Yeah,
Makes my heart just kind of thump.
Well, again, like sometimes like I was on the fence on the Black and Gold.
Yeah.
And I'll probably pick it up. Like the art really almost sold me on it, but it was the price tag. I'm like, I don't know. For an anthology book, you know how I generally feel about anthology books. Yeah. And I was like, I just don't know. And no one here at Kapow had read it. We're recording at Kapow this morning, and no one had read it here. So it was like, I think I'll just let it slide until I hear how it is. So I'll probably pick it up now.
Yeah. And it's not 100. I mean, there was a story or
they're rarely on an anthology. You're rarely 100%.
There were no bad stories in here. I will say that. Like there was nothing in here that was bad. There was some that were just better than others. There were some that I don't remember, but there were no bad stories. So and it's a $6 book. So you're not wrong. Like it was, like it's for $6.
It's not stupid priced, but for the price, I would like
if you
to
don't
know something about it.
Well, and that's where I'm saying like the next issue you've got, like I said, Marco Tamaki and Jamie McKelvey.
Yeah.
So if you see
big
those
names coming on,
it's a little bit easier to pay $6, right? So, well, speaking of deep dives, you ready?
Yeah, and anthology books.
You got your swimsuit on?
I do.
Going deep.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about our roundtable book this week, which is Kane and Abel by the great Shaky Kane and Krent Abel from Image Comics. Now, before we talk about this, just want to say this: the whole purpose of Craig and I and Matt when he's here of reading the same book is so we can go deep on it, so we can really get in there and nitpick some of the details on it. And you can't do that without, of course, spoiling a few things. So this is your handy dandy Southern Fried Geekery spoiler warning. We just want to give you that heads up because we don't want to ruin the experience for you, and what an experience it was.
Yes.
So before we dive too deep into it, what did you think about the book?
So I didn't like this book because it ended.
Yeah, okay. I get you.
I wanted it to keep going.
Nice.
And I was mad when I got to the end, and I wanted more stories. There's not one thing about this book that I can say I disliked.
Right.
Not one thing. There's not one negative thing about this book.
Yeah, you took the words.
So we can just go on to our books of the week.
I
get
guess
this
so.
book.
No, dude. You took the exact spirit of what I was going to say. everything about this really just tickled my fancy. I'm a fan of Shaky Kane. I've loved a lot of the work that he's done before. His roots are set in like 2000 AD. If you want more Shaky Kane, go check out Bulletproof Coffin. I was not familiar with Krent Abel, but I had to do some looking up on him and some of the work that he's done.
Apparently, love the play on their names. I love,
and he's like, it works so well. So what is this book? You might be asking at home.
It's beautiful.
It's a love letter to the absurd.
Into the 80s and 90s of maybe not the 90s, 70s and 80s, I would say, of comics.
Yeah, it's that. It's a commentary on pop culture. It's as far as visually, it is a commentary on pop art, and the history of the medium, and you get into some
meta
of the
Jack Kirby in it.
There's a lot of meta, not just with Jack Kirby, but like it's a book that both takes itself incredibly seriously and not seriously at all.
Yes,
at the same time, very very British. I think it's fair to say that, based on the way that that some of these things are laid out. But yeah, everything about the book just. And I've read the book several times now, and the differences in Shaky Kane's art and Krent Abel's art is, it's there. I think if I had to give you a link to what Shaky Kane's art is, it's more Mike Allred than it is.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe some of the stuff that you would expect from 2000 AD, but I think that's an evolution of where he's came from now. Whereas Krent Abel. A little bit
Francavilla.
And
it may be the colors more so than anything, but yeah.
A little bit Ed Piskor.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of Ed Piskor. I think Ed Piskor draws from this well.
Yeah.
Very much some Frank Miller at times, but at least definitely in spirit. So because the book is an anthology book, it's kind of hard to
really break it down.
To go through the entire Yeah.
Well, what was your favorite story in there?
So my favorite story, that's like picking a baby.
Yeah, yeah. I think my favorite one was the one with, what was his name, Nightmare?
Yes.
And they're hunting the vampires.
Nightmare and Sleepy.
Yeah, yep. And they're hunting the vampires, and he's got dead mouse heads all over his car because somebody killed his ex-partner and left brown fur, and he assumed it might be a mouse.
Mm-hmm. Which is, again, you're talking about... So let's start with that, since you named it. The story that you were referencing is called Creep Zone, featuring Nightmare and Sleepy. And this is a Krent Abel story. This is when he worked on his own. So I read this, right? And what you just said is right. Nightmare and Sleepy are a duo. They are a superhero partnership. Obviously, Nightmare is an older man who has a skull for a face. Sleepy is this younger, not a boy, but not yet a man kind of dude.
Yeah, tweener.
He may be 21, 22 at the most. Smokes cigarettes and everything. But they are
they kill vampires.
They're hunting vampires. And not just any vampires. These are like very.
By the way, the mice on the car look like Mortimer Mouse.
Right. Well, and again, we're talking about things that continually reference pop culture and comment on pop culture. So, to me, there's I think there has to be a jab at Disney there, right? Yeah. So as they're traveling, they take a minute to just slaughter these mice men. And they get to this giant obelisk with wings sticking out of it. And they're hunting Dracula, like you said, vampires, and they see a kid in the window. And then they see all these faces connected to this kid. And it's very much what was the kid from the Munsters?
Eddie Munster.
Yeah, Eddie Munster. He kind of has this Eddie Munster look about him.
Yeah.
And they just start destroying these things. I mean, the skull. By the way, their car is a skull. Yeah. That all of a sudden develops a tank, and so they blow up the obelisk, and they start going through and finding the remnants of these little vampire kids, and squishing them, stepping on their heads. Right.
Which is a beautiful sight.
It's hilarious. And then when they get done. And this what I love about this, again, taking itself seriously and not seriously at the same time. Sidekick kid's like, oh, that was slightly awesome and a little bit erotic. I'm gonna go stand behind this rock for a little bit. He's gonna go jerk himself off is what he's doing.
Yeah, not at all erotic.
So he does this, but of course things don't work out so well for Sleepy because Mama is back there.
Yeah, Mama Vampire.
And, you know, kills poor Sleepy. Just in
bites him.
He's
not quite dead yet.
Eviscerates him, I guess is a better word. And to which Nightmare has to step in and whip all kinds of ass and does a great elbow drop. But that's not the end. You got to pick up the book to figure out what happens. So,
yep.
Referencing pop culture, though, have you ever seen these characters before?
They look very familiar, but...
So, Nightmare and Sleepy are two public domain characters from the 40s.
Oh, okay.
They're golden age characters.
Gotcha.
And this is what I love about this book, because it connected some other dots for me as well.
Gotcha.
And
I think it was the colors in that story that made me think of Francavilla, by the way.
100%.
Yeah.
It's absolutely that same palette.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nightmare and Sleepy are these 40s golden age characters that were a duo. Nightmare is a former wrestler.
Which makes sense with the elbow drop.
With the elbow drop, right? So as I'm reading this, I'm like, but, you know, there's this obvious, like, connection to, of course, Batman and Robin, just because you think of, like, superheroes and, like, the boy sidekick and everything. Right. But I'm thinking, like, man, I've seen these guys before somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it dawns on me, it's like, oh, this is Skulldigger and the Jeff Lemire book.
Yeah.
And so as I've talked about Skulldigger before with the Jeff Lemire book, and I'm like, oh, this is...
Skulldigger and Bones?
But something, Bone Boy, or I forget what the exact...
something like that.
I love the series, again, not great with names, so I didn't really, pull that up or anything. But when I was reading that book, I was like, man, this is just, like, it's a love letter to these hero teams, and totally Batman and Robin. It's a great novel take on it. And then to read this and be like, oh, it's not only is it that, but Jeff Lemire in that work was totally going back to reference these same things. And why I didn't look it up then, I don't know. But I mean, the name is just more readily available here.
You know, I didn't think about it because the fact is that pretty much every character in the Black Hammer universe is a, anagram of
it's an amalgam of something else. Well, at least it uses the DNA, because what Jeff Lemire's doing again is he's writing his love letter to the medium, which is, I think, exactly what this was. Again, Francavilla reference on the art is 1,000%. I love Nightmare's outfit. He's wearing this giant, like, skeleton, essentially.
He's wearing a 1930s skeleton costume.
Right. It's just...
with a cape.
So freaking cool to see that. I'm glad that was your favorite story. It's going to lend me over to the story that I really liked more than anything.
Is it the one with the bear?
It's not the one with the bear. I knew that. Okay. I knew you guys were going to think that was my favorite story, and I really loved that story.
Yeah.
But the one that I liked was a Shaky Kane story.
Okay.
And it's the Dust Motes. If you remember this, it's a little bit of a slower story. So essentially, you have this guy whose name is Frank, and Frank has bought this old rundown, decrepit house in the middle of nowhere, the kind of thing that just, all the floorboards creak, windows are broken out, but he's going to live there because it's what he wants. Like, it's out in the middle of nowhere, it's away from everything, very isolated, and that's what he wants to. The previous owner of this thing apparently died in the house. It sounds like there may have been some
in the house.
Yeah, was some murder involved, right? Like, he got garroted.
That doesn't happen accidentally sitting in your recliner. Somebody has to intentionally do that usually.
And for what reason? For what reason? Oh, you just nailed the shit out of your shin. I felt it.
Oh, my ankle.
Oh, that didn't feel
great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But this person, that owns the house, now, he's a lover of comics. He's a lover of pop culture. In a lot of ways, I think he might be Shaky Kane himself. I also think he might be Frank Miller, or at least he might supposed to be Frank Miller. And as Frank, the homeowner, starts exploring this house and exploring his history with the house, how he's actually met the real Shaky Kane, and dived in this pop culture lifestyle, so to speak. He's exploring his new house, and he goes down into the basement and he finds, like, a secret door, and the secret door has got, like, this giant red bug on it, very reminiscent of some other work that Shaky Kane has done. And he opens this door. He opens the door to imagination, so to speak, like this physical metaphor. And all of these little dust motes, these little bugs, are floating around, or they're saturating the air. And he goes down there and he looks and he sees this coffin, and it's this iron coffin. What's inside it, he doesn't know. Like, what is buried beneath the depths of this legacy, this house that this other comic creator has built, these other paragons of the pop culture and the medium have built. What skeletons are down there? Who knows? And it kind of freaks him out a little bit. and he starts thinking about all of these like Jack Kirby-esque type things with these, women fighting dinosaurs and everything. It spurs his spirit, and so he goes back to that place. But the coffin's gone, and where the coffin was, there's another door, so he has to delve into the next level. And when he delves into the next level, and this is what makes me think it's a little bit of like a Frank Miller analog, is there's all of these mutant type creatures that look like the mutants from Dark Knight. Very dark. They've all got the sunglasses, yeah, and again, there's the 2000 AD aspect of it. There was a lot of that there, too. But he just shouts, enough was enough, slams the door, locks it all in there, and then burns the house down.
Which probably let all of that evil out into the world.
You would think so, too. But, to me, that might be, yes. Taking this as the meta commentary that I think is meant. I think that it's... I think this is Shaky Kane's kind of commentary on the medium and on the cartoonists themselves. The first level being this work that is completely derived from the magic of the King of Jack Kirby, and then you get this second wave, which is everything is referential to Frank Miller and this world that Frank Miller built. There's even a quote unquote
passing of the pencil,
right,
that happens throughout
all of these stories.
Well, specifically his, Kane's. So, there's this kind of passing of the torch, except it's a magical pencil that Kirby found in World War II.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's shaped like a rocket.
Yeah.
But just because, again, absurdity. Why not? But to me, as I'm reading this, and totally just my
Kirby-like person, and they don't ever call him that.
No, well, they do call the one character who finds it Jack Kirby.
Oh, did they? Okay,
yeah,
I missed that.
If you look on his suitcase, it says JK.
Oh, okay.
So it's totally Jack Kirby.
Gotcha. Okay.
To me, this is Shaky Kane really saying, hey, literally burn this house down. Everything is too derivative. He's making a commentary on where comics and cartooning is. It's for the longest time, and I don't think you can't speak of this as in complete terms, like everybody was doing it, or you wouldn't have somebody like Shaky Kane. But I think what he's saying is, by and large, you get you get a lot of stuff that flowed from Kirby, and then you get this landmark event in 1986, and you get the Dark Knight, you get the Watchmen, you get Alan Moore, you get this thing. And then comics for a long time kept following that blueprint. And people were just, again, more work derived from that moment and that thing. And I think literally what he's saying here is just burn it down. Open your own door to creativity. Quit going down to the next layer. Do something novel.
Yeah.
And again, that's me reading, the way my brain works.
Yeah.
So I just see a whole lot of that in there.
So what is there, 8 stories, 6 stories, something like that?
I think there's 6.
Yeah. So we touched on 2 of them, but every one of these stories is really freaking good. I didn't read one of them where I was like, that one was kind of a dud.
No.
They all have something going on. If nothing else, the art is worth the read, or at least the viewing of. The stories are fantastic. In the art's all over the place. It'll be one style will be kind of modernish, one story will be, and sometimes within the same story it bounces. Yep. There's one that's very 1980s, which is the one with the bear.
Yeah.
And it made me think of the art in Alan Moore Swamp Thing run.
To a little bit, extent.
Yeah. But very that kind of 80s. Probably the closest thing you're going to see to it nowadays would be Daniel Warren Johnson.
There's some. I think these lines are a little bit stauncher than Daniel Warren Johnson's.
I get what you're saying. That kind of vibe, I think, is more than anything that kind of 80s comics vibe.
Well, it feels like that underground.
It feels very underground. This whole book feels underground.
It's not Peter Baggy underground, but
it's
not
reading
quite
heavy metal from
the
80s.
The facial expressions and the story that you're talking about with the giant flying bear that had chainsaw cherubs on his shoulders. The villain in that story is this cockroach person. Who's
Lady Roach?
Yeah, she's wearing fishnet stockings and thigh-high boots, and She's got
and she shouldn't be wearing any of
black leather bra with nipples hanging out. Yeah. But it's very, like, again, I saw a lot of Frank, like, reference to Frank Miller in that work.
There's a lot of referencing different artists, but I don't think that they, maybe intentionally, but I think a lot of it's just them picking different styles from different times and doing their interpretation of it. No,
for sure.
Beautiful book, beautifully colored, beautifully laid out, beautifully drawn, and wonderfully told. Every story is fun. Even the darker stories, they're fun. And, you know, they wrap up in 7-8 pages, maybe 10 pages. Enjoy them. Go get them, put your hands on it, read this book, and enjoy it.
I cannot agree more. So,
and be sad like me when it's over.
Other than the stories, I think one of the things I love the most about this book is because again, we're talking about homages, right? And this commentary on the medium. Really, in large parts, it's a commentary on fandom too, and you get these. There's this one panel where this guy's turning around and looking at breaking the fourth wall, and he says to think Jack gave his life for these precious assholes, as they're talking about these kids who just walk by like legendary creators while they're looking at their iPhones.
Yeah,
but aside from that, it's also a
homage to 80s comics.
Well, just to the craft and to the collection of comics. And a lot of times when it comes to comics, we look at the art and we look at the story, and rightfully so. But sometimes I think we, especially modern days, we don't appreciate the ephemera that's in the comics. And that's what I love when you talk about the facsimile editions, because it shows you the ads and what's being sold at the time. And really that's what I like about looking at comics from like a historical marker perspective. Is comics really do track you through American pop culture from the 1920s on.
I think you're going to talk about the ad that stood out the most.
Well, so in this book there are they Shaky and Krent have created some ads, and there's all kind of things. There is, number one, you can order a life-size Sid Vicious monster cutout.
Monster-size Sid Vicious.
You know, just imagine your friend's shock when they walk into your room and see the vicious visitor standing around as big as life. I don't want to see.
And I want that. I don't want to. As horrible of a person as he was, I kind of want that.
I don't want to see Sid Vicious in my bedroom. If you look right above the page, though, Randy's Rock and Roll Basement in Philadelphia has got some things to offer you too, like a Kiss disguise kit.
Oh, nice.
You can get Taylor Swift inflatable legs for $1.98, which are famously insured for $40 million. You can get Lou Reed fart powder. Yeah. A millennial throat warbler for $1. You slip this device into your mouth, and you too can achieve a studio quality auto tune effect, kids. And what might be my favorite? For only $1, you can get a box, beautifully wrapped. What's in the box? Who can say? It is Chuck Berry's Ding-a-ling. For $1, Chuck Berry wants you. Yeah. For $1, Chuck Berry wants you to play with
his Ding-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling. One of rock's greatest mysteries is finally revealed.
That's hilarious.
What's in the box?
Yeah. So talking about the meta commentary, the story you were talking about, the Dust Mote one, the guy that dies in it that was murdered in the house before Frank buys it is had a large collection of comic books that ended up in the landfill or possibly stolen by people that he owed money to. Right. And it's kind of a commentary on those of us that hoard comics. In a way, you know, like enjoy them and pass them on and let other people enjoy them. And
see, I think
they did this guy no good in death.
Yeah, no. Well, I think there too. There's that, and that's what I'm saying. There's so many. It's like Shrek's onion. Yeah. There's so many layers to this. If you're thinking about it from like the perspective of, of Jack Kirby, then going down to Frank Miller and stuff.
I didn't catch that the dude's name was Frank till.
So many layers. But like, he's talking about the place that murdered him. There's a lot of people, and things got stolen from him. You think about the history of Jack Kirby, or Steve Ditko, or any number of these people that really the collectors and stuff did them no favors, and the industry did them no favors, and their creativity was in large part, literally choked out. Like you talk about the garrote. And so, again, I'm prone to read.
There's a lot of it in this book.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can all get kind of hyperbolic. Is that a correct word? Over some things like that.
Me. I'm raising my hand.
But in this case, it's pretty in your face meta, but it's also not so meta that you're going, oh, well, that's that reference, or it's there.
It's not talking down to you.
Yeah, so you just kind of experience it. It's there, it's in your face, but it's not like stupid, like, hey, idiot, this is what you need to experience.
It's not talking down to you.
Yeah.
It's asking you to be, it is asking you to be clever.
Yeah.
Like there, again, like and in a lot of ways, I think it's asking you, if you want to go do some homework, like go find out that these characters are from the 40s if you want to. Dig into the whole, like, Jack and his, his pencil and stuff like that. Well, but you don't have to enjoy it also.
It's similar in a way to, what was the Alan Moore book that was like the anthology series? Cinema
Purgatoria.
Yeah. That had all the, it was an anthology and had some very good stories in it and some great stories in it, but it had this kind of cohesive story that told true stories about people from pop culture as written by Alan Moore.
Right.
And you're like, it caused me to look some of these people up to see how accurate it was. And it was like, damn, these people were vile.
Well, and there's books like Hey Kids Comics.
Yeah.
That I was thinking of too as I was reading this. And I need to, like, I don't know why I don't. So I didn't read Hey Kids. And I don't know why. Like, it's like, as much as I love that stuff, you would think that I'd be all over it. So I need to do a little bit better job. And again, if the ads weren't enough for you, as far as just, again, like appreciating the collection of comics, like how they're put together as a book. Shaky and Krent put together a Kane and Abel's mailbag, where they have, quote unquote letters that were written to them, and it's all, bullshit because this is the first issue. But like, there's a mother that writes in, asking him to help solve a problem whether or not Shaky's brain was actually, or his head was translucent. So then there's another guy who, and to be fair, this person is Professor D.C. Thompson, who is writing in, and Professor Thompson does a lot of what Caleb does on a regular occasion and tries to break down the stuff into like this social commentary. So, and I thought it was hilarious. And again, it's poking fun at people like me. Right. And those things aren't precious to me. So I just thought it was fun. But it's this professor, who is he calls himself a noted historian, critic, and lecturer at the Brooklyn Institute of Sequential Art. Like, again, poking fun at the people who look at comics from an academic perspective, which I do. But again, like, we would think this is funny, I think, above and beyond.
Yeah.
But just talking about the villain in the Bear story, how it was this analog for, the good side of communism, and how capitalism came in and broke it down, and how this was really a non-binary progressive person perceived as a supervillain, and how the retribution of patriarchal capitalism came in and
that absolutely sounds like a Caleb take.
And that's what, like, again, it's the finishes the question by saying, is the Bear some kind of incomprehensible postmodern statement about the historical role of heroes in comics culture, whereby the hero is actually the villain of the piece, or are you just trying to brainwash your readers with your transphobic, alt-right, puritanical hate speech? Either way, you're not welcome on my campus. Again, so totally something that, like, I think is meant to mock the type of thing that academics and stuff do.
Well, all of us go overboard sometimes on this stuff, and the reality is, and I think what they're trying to say is, sometimes it's just a comic.
100%.
Yep. Sometimes it's just a fun story.
Yep.
And
which is a hilarious thing in a book that's as meta as Kane and Abel.
Yeah.
Just
a lot of fun, guys. Really, it's 72 pages for. I think it's got a $13 price tag on it, but I got it on Comixology for $10.
Oh, nice!
I'm gonna buy the physical copy if they have it here at the store.
I hope there's something else coming. It's 72 pages too, so I should say, like, you're getting 72 pages.
That's where I was going. You're getting a lot for
The book is beyond magazine size. Like it's not even. So if you think about the DC Black Label books, the big ones, it's bigger than those. I feel like maybe not as wide, but definitely taller.
Yeah, it's certainly in that magazine format, whether it's a magazine size or off just a little bit, but it's in a prestige larger format. Right.
If you lay a normal size comic book on it, you basically have a 1-inch margin of extra on every side, and it's that kind of we were talking about it since about Daniel Warren Johnson. We were talking about his Beta Ray Bill book and how it really is underserved by being in standard format, and I think that would also be true about a book like this. And so I love that it's bigger. And you're getting more bang for your buck. Yeah. Because really, if you're talking about like the tangible thing and everything that makes up a comic, like from the paper to the staples to everything else, this needs to be larger. This needs to be this size.
Yeah.
The craftsmanship of,
like I said, I'm going to buy it in that because I felt like it didn't do justice on my computer screen.
Yeah.
As great as it was, I want to physically hold this book in my hand and reread it. So,
surf the Fleshwave.
Surf the Fleshwave, so to speak.
That's going to be the title of the book.
Yeah, lots of good things, guys. Go get it. If you like pulp, if you like 80s underground comics, if you
as Matt would say, if you miss the books that you walk into a head shop and buy.
Yep.
That's what this feels like.
Yep. Maybe not quite as much as Red Room, but in a different way.
I think it's in the same, it's got the same DNA.
Yeah.
But
definitely it's worth the read. It's worth the $13 to pick up and read it.
At some point I'll have to sit down and do some self-reflection on why I loved this, but I didn't enjoy Red Room nearly as much as other people did. And
the type of violence, probably.
Maybe. I think that probably has a lot to do with it. Anyway, yeah. The book is phenomenal.
Yep. Enjoy. I mean, even the cover's meta when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Kane and Abel on the front, and when you think of Kane and Abel, of course you think of Kane and Abel.
Yeah, the biblical versions.
Where Kane is the killer and Abel is the innocent bystander brother that gets murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got Kane over the hero side and Abel over the villain side, or apparently villainous side. With his thumb up.
With Nightmare holding up a bottle of lube that Sleepy died clutching, jerking off behind a giant boulder.
Yep.
I love it. Hey kids, go surf the Fleshwave.
Yep. Go surf the Fleshwave.
You'll be better for it. Well, Craig, why don't you tell me about a book that maybe you read this week that maybe I didn't?
Yeah, sir. Are you happen to be reading the Demon Day books?
No.
Okay. The Demon Days by Peach
Momoko.
Momoko, yeah. So what she's doing, and the one I'm going to talk about is Mariko, which is the second one that came out. What she's doing is kind of taking these beloved X-Men characters
mm-hmm.
and giving us a little twist on who they are. And I think I talked about the first one in my short stack, and I said it's a beautiful book. It's meant for somebody other than me.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a dog at the end, or a wolf demon thing at the end. Its name was Logan.
Right.
So now this is Mariko. And now people that know who Mariko is, we know this was Logan's first love.
Mm-hmm.
At least as portrayed in the comics. He had a long life. So I assume when she meets the quote-unquote real Wolverine in these books, Logan's going to come from the name of the demon dog. But
okay.
I'm assuming that. I don't know that. Yeah. So this tells the story of Mariko when she's a teenager. But it starts with like a little flashback of her singing a song about Oni, which are Japanese demons.
Mm-hmm.
And her grandma, as she calls her granny through the story, tells her to quit singing that song. I've told you to quit singing that song. Why are you singing that song? And so then it advances, and Mariko's in high school, and she gets like pissed off at one of the kids and beats the living shit out of them, to the point that, she gets home, she's kind of in trouble for having another event at school. So apparently this is an issue, her violence at school. And so she says she's going to her room, and she takes a nap, and she dreams about her mother, who she never met. And in her dream, her mother is an Oni.
Okay.
And so she comes down and she gets Granny and she's like, I keep having these nightmares and my mother's an Oni. And Granny says, you know what? It's time for me to be honest with you. You're not really my grandchild. I found you in the hills. Your mother was an Oni. You were left for dead. I brought you home and I took care of you. But the only thing you had on you was this gift that I'm going to give you, but I had to tell you this truth beforehand.
Right.
And she does a spell and coughs out a key.
Huh.
And as she's about to use the key to unlock this door, their house servant shows up and knocks Granny unconscious and reveals that she's actually working for another Oni and has been her whole life, and that she was there waiting for Mariko to start regaining her memories so that she could take her to the other Oni.
Right.
She says, but I've kind of learned to care about you and I love you and I can't do that. And so now I'm screwed. An assassin shows up, kills her and disappears. And then Mariko tells Granny, she says, I've got to go find out about my real life, about my life as an Oni. So she takes her mother's Oni mask and the knife and she goes to go hunt for these Oni. And that's where this one ends.
Right.
So these are one-shots, but this one is part of, they're calling it the Yoshida Saga.
Okay.
So I'm assuming there's going to be, 3-4 issues in the saga, whatever it may be. But what I absolutely love about this book is two things. One, it's a kind of reimagining, because all we ever knew of Mariko was that her dad was a gangster, right? Mm-hmm. He was... what do they call it? The triad?
Right.
Is that Japanese?
I think that was Chinese. I think
okay,
Chinese
so
was the triad. The Yakuza. Yakuza is the Japanese.
So, he's part of the Yakuza in some form or another. He makes Wolverine fight his way for his love of his daughter and all of these sorts of things. So to kind of get this new telling in Japanese culture and in Japanese lore, I absolutely love this for it. And the way Peach draws, is, you've been talking about this a lot lately, but it's that perfect, in my mind, combination of American comic books with manga art form. Mm-hmm. And Peach is doing it. I mean, this is only, I think, the second interior she's done, being the 2 Demon Days books at this point.
I think that's true, yeah.
I think everything else she's done has been covers. But if this is what we're going to get from her, I want her on as many books as she can draw. She's doing an absolutely fantastic job with the art in these. Action sequence. Sometimes when you have people that just draw covers.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, but how are they going to do when they get into sequential?
Yeah, can they tell a story with their art?
When there's action, how's that going to play out beautifully?
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. The fight scene between the assassin, Oni sent assassin, and the house servant that was also a spy is absolutely great. It's Granny's like this little 2-foot tall Yoda looking Granny. It's just, it's great. I can't recommend this book enough. I'm waiting to see which other character she's going to bring into this story from the X-Men. I figure that obviously some of the more Japanese ones will have their story in there, like Psylocke will probably have hers. Some of the, and she may create new ones. Like the first one was about a demon. It didn't have any tie to any other X-Men other than that the demon wolf was named Logan.
Logan, yeah. Well, and it's funny you brought up Psylocke. Like when I first saw that cover for the first issue, I thought it was a Psylocke book. Yeah. Like I thought we were, and Psylocke being, Betsy, who was actually a white person, a British person who took over the body of a Japanese person.
They are split again currently.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's really it's a really cool dynamic, and it throws me off sometimes because I have to go back and figure out which one I'm like. Okay, where are we at? I was trying to remember what Marco's father. His name was Lord Shingen, I think. Yeah. You said the Yoshida Saga, and my brain, just because it's been a while since I've covered that, I was thinking like Silver Samurai. But that's a different...
Very well could end up in this at some point, too. I would say it would be a reimagined version of Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
Probably a samurai in a silver suit would be
Right.
something like that, because it plays on very traditional Japanese storytelling.
Right.
This isn't a tale in modern times that's taking place. This is, like I said, in the countryside in Japan, in the mountains somewhere, which is something that Japanese culture plays into a lot.
Yeah.
And the Oni are neither really good nor evil.
Right.
They're kind of both in Japanese culture, so it will be interesting to see where this. I read this book 2 weeks ago, and I knew instantly I wanted to put it on the show at some point. So, again, the next one comes out probably 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So.
Have to check it out, yeah. So I know on a lot of her covers, and that's how I know her. I mean,
that's how most people know.
She's a hot shit cover artist right now. Like everybody, like Peach Momoko variants go for big bucks. She's one of, I think she just signed up with Felix for Felix Comic Art, and he's her rep now. I think. But she. I'm
sure her covers are selling for a lot.
Oh, they're for a premium, and even her pages on this, I'm sure, are going to go.
Oh, I'm sure, because they're beautiful.
With an art rep like Felix, it's not uncommon for him to just sell entire issues at once. He'll have a buyer who wants all. I mean, that happens all the time, especially, again, we've said his name a lot, but Daniel Warren Johnson, like his issues sell complete.
Well, think about if you had the money to lay down to get the first issue of a first American comic that she's done. I don't know if she's done any manga before coming to write American.
Yeah, for
I don't
Marvel.
know if she's in America, but before she started doing American comics. But to be able to get her entire first issue, I'm sure it's going to cost you a pretty penny. But
$20,000.
Easily. Yeah. But again, it's absolutely beautiful art. She is a fantastic artist, and I'm glad that her work is translating to comics.
Now she's
Jesse,
still doing
our buddy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, real quick. Jesse, our buddy. He's like, just put her on any female hero book in Marvel right now. He's like. Obviously he's like, I'll take Gwenpool or any of them, but he's like, any female hero book. And I'm like, I'd put her on any hero book, but I mean, the female I understand because she draws the female.
So is she using, I know on a lot of her covers she uses, I think, digital watercolor, or just maybe it's traditional.
Is it the same?
Okay. I was going to say, is it it's kind of the same look to it? Because you know me, I love some watercolor. You give me a watercolor artist and I'm a happy. Oh, dude, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, when I say it's beautiful, it's absolutely stunning. The pages are just, and here, just a second, we're gonna have this is her backstory. But anyways, it's absolutely just some stunning art.
Well, and her colors, her color palette is a little bit of a muted, lots of pinks and oranges and yellows and greens, but they're not like fluorescent. They're very matte, I think. But just the way that her style that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous.
Well, and so here's the fight between the female assassin and the female housekeeper, basically.
Right.
And it's almost this sensual fight that happens between them while still being badass.
Reminds me a lot, just in not in look, but in maybe formation is the word I'm looking for. Reminds me a lot of Lone Wolf and Cub. In the way that. In the way that the pages were structured.
Yeah.
I think because some of those are very sensual in their nature, and I think that's true. Also, is this supposed to be Black Widow? Because it kind of has a Black Widow.
Very well could be. It's not, she doesn't have the same name.
Right. She's wearing the Panther. She's got a girder around her.
Oh, she does. I just noticed that, like the Black
Panther's
girder.
collar. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot just in these pages. There's a lot that you can just go deep into. Yep.
When the assassin shows up, she bamps in.
Yep.
There's a lot of little hidden things in this. Absolutely beautifully drawn. There's I don't know if it's digital watercolors or natural watercolors, but it's beautiful.
I can't tell from this, but man, it's stunning. You're right. Yep. I need to remedy the fact that I haven't read this. That's pretty. I needs it. So yeah, Peach Momoko she's definitely she's on there. They're not calling them Young Guns anymore, but she's one of their new.
What are they calling them
I'd have
now?
to. I forget, but she's one of their new, like they're pushing her, and rightfully so.
Based on this art?
Yeah. I'd like to see some more of it. And she's look, for somebody like me who's not, I like continuity when continuity is used correctly, but I really enjoy stories outside of continuity.
I'm fine with changes in continuity if it's clear that it's not a continuity thing. So this is obviously its own thing.
Right.
Which is, it gives them a freedom to retell a new story. So I'm absolutely fine with that. I kind of like my continuity to stick when it's within the main continuity or the main canon.
Right. And
that's just me. I understand that sometimes stuff has to evolve to tell a new story, and I get that.
Well, but I think that's also how long have we been reading comics, right? So it's we like this idea that the character is reliable. I think for us as readers, there's a lot of, we turn to comics in many ways for escapism or to relax, or because comics these characters have been around for, for Marvel, it's going on 60 years, for DC going on 80-something years or more. But the characters are dependable. They're a constant, and we like the new stories keep building, but it keeps adding to this collection of knowledge that we have. And I think that's why a lot of comic readers, not just you or not just me, but they want the continuity to stay the same. Then again,
it's really bizarre though, because if there's a specific turning point like New 52,
right,
I was okay with new continuity for those characters. Yep. If I know that this is hey, from this point on, we're going to have new continuity.
Right.
The characters are going to feel familiar, but they're going to be a little different. I'm okay with that.
I think that makes it fresh. I think that because look, sometimes like the same tropes get stale.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. And like you said,
it's when there's no turning point that it's like all of a sudden somebody's acting outside of their normal character. It's like, this isn't the Batman I know, or this isn't the Spidey I know.
Right.
And without really any reason for it to happen other than it's a new creative team on it and they want to take their own twist on it.
Kind of an in-tail retcon that's not established or explained.
Or it's somebody just trying to put their own take on on an existing character. Well, if you want a new take on a character, create a new character.
Yeah.
But if there's new continuity and it's a clear new continuity, I'm okay with that.
Well, and look, sometimes writers and even artists in the way they tell the story, they just miss the mark. They they miss being like they don't get the voices right. And I think that's what we look for in a lot of our stories is does this feel like the voices of all these independent characters? And that's so thinking about like the Avengers or any team book really, like you have to know how to nail the voices of these separate characters in a cohesive way. Zdarsky did an amazing job of it on that Justice League book that he wrote.
Zdarsky seems to do a fantastic job nailing these characters, no matter what he's writing. He gets their inner voices, their person. And I had some issue with him on Daredevil for a while.
Yeah.
That there was one story arc where Matt wasn't acting like Matt, but it turned out that it was okay.
Yeah, there's usually he had it mapped out and planned.
Yes, and but it was frustrating to me, and I think I complained about it a little bit. I was like, "This isn't Matt Murdock," but
that was I remember that when he was like
he was having an affair with a married woman.
Yeah,
and I was like, "This isn't Matt Murdock."
Yeah,
his faith wouldn't allow him to do this, but his guilt.
You were supposed to pick up on that, though. Yeah. That was
it was
Chip
the guilt
playing
that
with
was
you.
coming after that. That was
you juxtapose that with, and it's interesting because you can actually use two different examples. But Jason Aaron's on his Avengers run, I don't think he does a very good job of nailing the independent characters. And a lot of times it feels like okay, so the artist is drawing Black Panther over here and Captain America over here, but it's the same voice. Like it feels like the same person. But you go back and you read the thing that he just finished up, The Heroes Reborn and Returned, did an incredible job of separating those characters and
it's weird because the first two story arcs of Avengers,
were so good.
And then it just took a turn, and we may be on a limb on that, but in my personal opinion, it took a turn that I didn't care for.
I don't think we're alone in that. So because of the internet, we're part of these different groups of people, and like 11 O'Clock Comics or even the Comic Book Bears and stuff, and like talking to different readers from all over the country who have all different experiences and stuff like that. All of long-term Avengers fans, new Avengers fans, it's not being it's not being enjoyed or being liked the way that a lot of people expect it would. Now you have people that our friend Castro who thinks it's brilliant. He absolutely loves it, and I love that he loves it. And it's not taken away. It's just different things. There are stories that are I think universally seen as not great, but it's somebody's favorite comic
for sure.
And I think that's part of what makes that so great.
Castro loves everything.
He does. He has a positivity about the characters in the medium that is infectious in a lot of ways.
He loves fresh tales no matter what it is, and I love him for it.
Exactly. No, I do too. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of fresh tales, I guess we're playing in the Marvel sandbox this week because my my book is also from the House of Ideas. It is a first issue that spins out of I think what has collectively been either our favorite or one of our favorite books for like the past 3 years.
Oh, for sure.
Immortal Hulk is beloved on this show. It's beloved in the world, as it should be, because it's amazing. Probably going to go down in history as one of the top 5 best like Hulk arcs of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Easily being written by Al Ewing. Al Ewing has another book out now that is tethered to that. It stems from the pages of Immortal Hulk, and that book is Gamma Flight. He is writing it. Al is still in control of these characters. He's got Crystal Frazier, Lam Medina, and Antonio Fabella helping him out with it as far as the creative team goes. Lam Medina's lines in this book are beautiful. I absolutely love it. But who is Gamma Flight? If you haven't been reading Immortal Hulk, number one, shame on you, but number two, you might be a little bit lost and confused. Well, Gamma Flight, think of Alpha Flight. But the Alpha Flight broke away from itself. It's still got some of the same members, but now there's some new people tied into it, and they are, in a lot of ways, a protection team for gamma radiation, or for people who have been irradiated or connected to the Hulk.
It's a brilliant way to spin out of Alpha Flight into something new.
And it's got, like I said, it's got characters that so you've got Puck, Alpha Flight legend, small man with a big personality. Eugene Judd is, and you've got Sasquatch, but not Sasquatch. Sasquatch right now is actually Dr. Leonard Sampson in the body of Sasquatch. And so you're like, what? Like, how did this happen? You got to go read Immortal Hulk for that. Making up the rest of this team, my new favorite couple in Marvel, Titania and the Absorbing Man,
they're great,
are amazing in this book. You have Dr. Charlene McGowan, who is the scientist behind the whole thing. And then, again, spinning out of Immortal Hulk, you've got two people in one body, yet again. You've got Rick Jones and this young teenage guy named Del Fry. And they share a very Cronenbergian, amorphic...
Firestarter, but Cronenberg.
Right. Almost like Siamese twin relationship where both of these people are in what used to be Rick Jones's body, but very, very morphed, very irradiated.
Yeah.
And they were tasked in Immortal Hulk with hunting down people who had gamma radiation. They were trying to stop the Hulk, stop everything that was happening with it. But then they realized that, as they want to do, government entities sometimes do the bad thing. And hiring private, quote unquote Blackwater-esque type mercenaries to hunt people down kind of rubbed them the wrong way. And also, let's not forget that Crusher Creel and Titania are villains. They're not necessarily heroes. And so they were just like, you know what? Kind of fuck this.
Something's leads to some great moments.
Something's not right here. Yeah, it leads to these really incredible moments where they form this new team and they're kind of stuck in a no man's land. They're not like on the Hulk's team. They're not helping some of these like Hulk and Harpy wreck shop, but they're also not helping the government. Really, what they're doing is they found out that the people in control of Alpha Flight were doing science experiments. They were abducting people and just doing these really abhorrent things to them. And
Wasn't Carol Danvers in charge of Alpha Flight for a while?
She was for a while, but I think this is post her tenure. And for a while, Alpha Flight was connected to Sword and Abigail Brand, and again, this is detached from that as well.
Gotcha.
And so they're picking up on these gamma radiation blips, so to speak, and they rush in to find out what's going on. and then they're attacked by these mercenary teams, and you get some really good action scenes. At one point in time, Absorbing Man like touches an old iron War Machine armor and turns into War Machine. But on the other hand, they are one of the main themes in Hulk is like this green door, and they've channeled some of that energy that allows them to teleport back and forth. But they're on the run, right. And so they've set up kind of this base in New Mexico where they're working out of, again, trying to find these people and help them in some way. You get a really great scene where Titania and Absorbing Man get engaged, and the engagement ring is secondary adamantium, which can be used in a variety of ways. The shit really hits the fan in this first issue when somewhere in I think you can assume it's New York, but it's like a metropolitan city somewhere where this giant, again, like surf the Fleshwave, this just giant fleshy creature type blob thing is attacking the city. And they rush in to kind of find out what happens because this thing is reeking of gamma. Right. And as they get there, they start putting two to two together that these are people. These are these science experiments that are on the run from the same people that Gamma Flight's on the run from. And they're all not really sure about how to handle the situation. Like at first they, like any good superhero, like the quote unquote good guys got to fight to fill each other out, and then they realize, hey, we're on the same team. Right. About the time that they figure out they're on the same team, a cliff. I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger, much the same way the book does. A figure who is part of the Gamma family, so to speak, that we have not seen in a while, shows up and is working for they're bad guys, but is working for the people who are chasing them. Yeah. I think Craig probably knows who this person is. If you get home and you read this, I don't think you'll be surprised. But it raises the stakes a little bit. And it's somebody that we have not seen in Immortal Hulk. It's somebody that we haven't seen. So the last time I saw this character, and this will be a little hint, is Mark Waid was writing the Hulk book. And this person
was given a bag of cash
and depowered. Yeah. But now this person is no longer depowered, and we're going to see him step up, which is going to have some ramifications. I think arguably it's got to have ramifications in the main Hulk book. But I love this series. I think it's a great team. I like I said, it is hilarious seeing the dynamic between Absorbing Man and Titania. I can't help but wonder if this is where the Rick Jones Del Fry storyline is going to be figured out, or if it's going to go back to the other book. But if you're reading Immortal Hulk, this plays right into that world. You kind of, I don't know that you need to read it, but you should want to. It's every bit as beautiful in a different kind of style as that other book, but
a different style, but I mean,
it fits in.
It fits really well.
Yeah.
If they needed him to take over Immortal Hulk, I wouldn't be mad.
No. I think that you could put Lan Medina's work, you could put this in a collected edition with Immortal Hulk. It fits so well within this.
It really does.
This thing created by Al Ewing.
And so I too read this issue.
Nice.
I think I read it last week. So I don't know why, but I was surprised by how good this book was.
Right.
I don't know why, because it's Al Ewing. I should quit being surprised by how well he writes a book.
Well, but it's a spin-off book, right?
Yeah.
And those don't always...
And Alpha Flight's never really been my thing. And, it's a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off. And it's like, I don't know. But then it was so freaking good.
Yep.
And that last page, as Al Ewing has done all throughout Immortal Hulk, just kind of sinks its hooks into you, and it's like, yeah, you're going to come back for the next issue. Whether you want to or not, you're going to read issue number 2.
No, for sure. And I was really surprised by what happened in the last page of this, that this wasn't actually in Immortal Hulk. But it makes sense that they're trying to. So sadly, we know it's coming. We can prepare ourselves. It's still going to hurt in our hearts. But Immortal Hulk is ending at 50, so it's got, I think, 2 issues left.
This is a way for Al Ewing to still play with Gamma characters.
Right.
And let somebody else play with the Hulk sandbox.
But and wrap it up in a 50-issue just complete package, which I can appreciate.
Yep.
So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forget who they announced for the next team for Hulk. but it was a good team.
It was, yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
But I feel sorry for them because it's going to be a hard number to follow.
It's hard to follow it's hard to be the person following the person. You know what I mean?
You don't want to be the person following the goat. You want to be the person following the person that followed the goat.
And unless you're Donnie Cates, apparently, because then you just win. Always.
There's all. I mean, don't get me wrong. Right now, Marvel has a very good young. Talent pool that they're drawing from. And I don't know, young may not. They have a very good talent pool they're pulling from right now for writers and artists.
Yeah.
And again, I wish I could remember who it was. Matt's probably kicking and screaming as he's listening to this.
Well, we could Google it too, but that's...
Yeah, that would take effort. But yeah, it's... I love that he's still going to be playing in the Gamma universe.
Well, and apparently Al Ewing is going to be writing the Defenders. Like, they're coming out with a new Defenders book. And, Defenders, the classic setup is Hulk and Namor, which, makes me feel tingly in special places because those are my boys.
Right.
So I cannot wait to see what they do with that. But, no, dude, all around it's... Look, I mean, the Hulk is my favorite Marvel character and has been, I think, since you and I have known each other, since I've been an adult. Like I said, he's always been my dude. It is an amazing time to be a Hulk fan.
Absolutely.
And
it's weird because Hulk's never been my quote-unquote favorite.
Right.
But I've always enjoyed reading Hulk.
Right.
Especially when he's written right.
Peter
and
David.
Honestly, going back to Mark Waid recently, the series you're talking about where he depowered, it was the Doc Green stuff. Yeah. There's been some really, really good Hulk stories lately. And for Immortal Hulk to stand out so far above and beyond some of those other ones doesn't mean the other ones were bad. It's just that this is so good.
Our buddy Vince Bonavilla over the 11 O'Clock Comics likes to say that like every 10 years you get an amazing Hulk story. And I think it's like, I love the Mark Waid stuff. I don't think that the Mark Waid stuff is as good as this stuff.
I don't love the Doc Green kind of stuff as much as I do Monster Hulk.
Right. But you get Al Ewing, again, Peter David, going back to when the Return of the Monster and that Volume 2 Hulk stuff that he wrote, which is some of my favorite stuff and really is, like, that's my era of the Hulk.
My favorite Hulk stuff is when it's Jekyll and Hyde type.
Yeah.
And that's what this has been. And
this has been Jekyll and Hyde on meth.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
And again, we're talking about continuity, but it's pulling all these neat little things from like the long and storied history of these
you're
characters.
Getting all the different Bruces, you're getting all the different Hulks, and it's tying them together in a nice little package for us. You're getting Harpy, you're getting all these things, and it's just in this nice little package, all tied up with a bow on it. And we're getting an explanation for why there's so many different personalities for Hulk.
Right.
And, turns out that Bruce Banner is just schizophrenic.
Turns out, he's got all of these people inside his psyche. Man, I love.
He's Legion with Hulks in him.
Kind of. Ooh, that's a terrifying aspect. It's just a good time. So
it is.
Really want people to go read Gamma Flight. If you did read it, I would love it if you came and spoke to us about it. Craig, do you know where they can come speak to us about comics if they want to? The people
they can on our Facebook page.
They can.
And on our, they can come see what we're reading on our Instagram page.
It's true.
And they can talk to us on Twitter.
Those are facts.
And if they don't want to use any of those things, they can email us.
That's 100%.
At southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
Yeah, there we go.
Nailed it. I'm proud of you.
And the rest of us, you can just search us on the little search bar and all the rest of this.
Well, our tags are in, like at least on Instagram and Twitter, our tags are in the bio of the Southern Fried Geekery. So, feel free to follow us and stuff like that. I don't post nearly as much on my personal page about comics anymore. I used to, but now since we have the show page, that typically is where I put stuff.
Yeah, I don't typically post on my page either.
But we're at SFG Podcast on both of those, and we would love to hear you. You'd love to talk to you on any of those places. So come hang out with us. Come be friends and join the little SFG community that we have going on here. So, all right, we ready to kind of start wrapping this thing up?
Yeah,
take it home.
Let's go. I'm getting hungry. It's lunchtime.
It is. Yeah, time has really been flying by.
Yeah.
As we always do, we are going to kind of set the menu a little bit. We're going to hedge our bets, so to speak. There are books that are coming out this next week, as they are wont to do. Tuesday and Wednesday are collectively known as New Comic Book Day in the community. And this is when, even online, this is when new books drop and you can pick it out. Now, we're going to suggest a few things. And, well, I can guarantee that the book that Craig is going to tell you about is amazing. Yes. I know it's good.
I was going to say there is no hedged bet.
No, that is it is factually an accurate statement.
I'm not going to have any blowback from picking a Rob Liefeld.
No, as you did last week. But the book I'm going to tell you about, I don't know. It could be a flop. I have no idea. But Craig, why don't you go ahead and tell the boys and girls at home what you want them to grab this next week?
If you've been listening to our show for the entire run, a year and a half ago, we talked about a book a lot.
Yep.
And that was a book by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. And that book was called Middlewest. This coming week, you can buy that entire book in one hardback collected edition for about $60, I believe. So that is my recommendation. Go buy it. Go read it. These collected editions always have fun things in them that aren't in the floppies as you get them. Yeah. Usually some artwork that led to the creation of the characters, some back matter stuff on how they developed the story. This was a fantastic story from beginning to end. It never let up. It never disappointed. Go buy this book if you haven't read it. If you have read it, you want some great shelf porn.
Yeah.
Buy this book because it's absolutely beautiful. It's a nice black hardbound black cover edition. Looks absolutely beautiful from what I've seen.
And the pages inside are gorgeous, man.
Oh, yeah. Corona absolutely nails.
Oh, my God. Yeah. It makes no sense. It is so freaking good.
Yeah. He channeled his version of Scotty Young and did it wonderfully.
I adore that story.
Yep. Everything about it.
Shit will make you laugh and cry within like 20 pages.
Oh, yeah.
Just
sometimes on the same page.
Yeah, no joke. All right, so, dude, co-sign that. I 1,000% think you need to put that on your shelf. I'm probably going to end up putting it on mine.
I'm definitely thinking about buying it.
So my question is, if I get the omnibus, do I give away the floppies?
If I get the omnibus, I've already sold the floppies. So
oh, there you go. Okay.
I will be buying it.
Okay.
Now that I think about it.
Done deal.
Yeah, it is a done deal for me.
All right. Also, and Craig and I are just simpatico all over the place today. The book that I want you all to go pick up is a smaller book, but it is from Image Comics, same as our little Middlewest book over there was, and it is called Skybound X #1. And really, what this is it's celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Skybound, which is nice. Robert Kirkman's little corner of the Marvel or this is Image Comics.
Where he has to specifically find you.
Yeah.
You cannot submit to him to be found. He has to find you on his own and ask you to draw for Skybound. That was my understanding. I don't know if it's still that way or not. Because if you wanted to just submit, you could submit to Image and be chosen. Skybound's where he was searching the corners of the internet looking for unique and different stories.
I think that's the way it originated. I don't think it's that way anymore because Justin Jordan had a book at Skybound. So there are people who pitch
probably if you're a name person.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So I think what it is kind of like when it first started, though. They had these houses, Silvestri, you had Top Cow. Yeah. It's still, Skybound is like that. Now It's like Robert Kirkman gets to choose and pick what the Skybound logo.
Gotcha, okay.
And I will say that unlike, even though Robert Kirkman wrote this whole manifesto about creator rights and stuff like that, with Skybound, the way it's set up, it uses the standard model, whereas, you
get paid a page rate.
You get paid, yeah. You don't necessarily own everything. I don't know how that works out with stuff
the whole Image.
Yeah,
so that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know how it works out with some of his bigger creations or like his books. If he does have like a share, an owner share with like the artist and stuff like that, but usually it's even like I said, there's a little bit of Kirkman being a hypocrite that a lot of people have a problem with. But regardless, you still get some great stories. And what what this Skybound X is, it celebrates 10 years of Skybound. It's a cavalcade of your favorite creators and all new stories. It's going to kick off with a chapter of the Walking Dead story, Rick Grimes 2000, by Kirkman and Otley. In addition, they'll be debuting an all-new series and characters every issue, starting with the first appearance of the most requested Walking Dead character of all time, Clementine, star of the best-selling Telltale The Walking Dead video game series.
Okay.
There's going to be some
I would have said Daryl would be the most requested, but if they want to go with
Clementine, it's their pitch. So there's going to be new Ultra Mega stuff in here, which is the James Herron book that I'm absolutely adoring. There's some Manifest Destiny stories in this. It's just really cool. Again, it's a collection. I think there's going to be 10 issues of almost like an anthology, but it's all set in the Skybound thing. So definitely, if you're a fan of that, you want to check it out.
Awesome.
And Craig, I know you being the Walking Dead, and Zane being a big Walking Dead fan, y'all are definitely going to want this book.
I'll pick it up so I can read the Walking Dead stuff in it, if nothing else.
Yep, and that's why we do this.
That is why we do this.
Sharing that information.
Awesome.
Well, buddy, it's just you and me. We got anything else we need to cover?
Don't think so. I think we hit it all.
I do. Once again, I hope everybody out there has a safe and enjoyable 4th of July. It's a long weekend for a lot of folks.
Please be safe. Do not drink and drive.
Don't do it.
Be safe if you're lighting off fireworks.
Don't burn your neighbor's house down.
And don't drink and light off fireworks.
There's lots of... Just don't mix fire and alcohol generally. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. If you're going to drink, let somebody else do the fireworks,
That's the best part, sitting back and letting other people do your job for you. That's the life we all want.
Yeah, right?
But okay, so with that being said, take care of yourselves and go forth and love some comics.
And ride the skin highway.
Right. Surf the...
What is it?
Surf the skin wave.
Yeah, or ride the skin highway. Surf the skin wave.
I'm pretty sure riding the skin highway is like a motorcycle porn from 1982.
It could be. All of those things. I blew it. Sorry, that's what happens when Matt's not here.
Blowing it's also what happened in Ride the Skin Highway.
I'm sure it did.
All right, love you guys.